This demonstration will show you how to create a query using Microsoft Access. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go to the Create ribbon, and we're going to click on the Query Design. And what's going to come up here is it's going to show us the tables and queries that we can base this query off of. In the case of our database right now, we have one table called Students, and it has some information such as the student's first name, last name, midterm grade, final grade. So if we want to base a query off this table, we click on the table and then we click the Add, and you'll see it'll show up in behind the scene in the query design area. So once we're done adding tables, because we can base a query off of many tables if we want, but for this class we're only going to do one table at a time. So let's make this a little bit bigger here and resize the bottom pane. Okay, so to start building your query, by default your query is going to be blank. So if we were to actually run the query right now, you wouldn't see anything. So we need to start adding fields to it. So if we do things like adding the student ID, the first name, last name, and to do this we just double click on the fields that are in this table object up here, and say we want to show the province. We don't want to show the phone number or birthday, we'll just ignore those, and we want to do the midterm and final grades. So you'll notice as I'm clicking, each one of those fields was added to the bottom pane here. So now if I run this query, it's going to show us those fields that I just selected and not the ones that I didn't. So let's hit the Run button, and you can see here that this looks like our table, but it's ignoring some of the columns because I didn't click on those columns. So it's only showing the 6 columns that I had double clicked on in the design view, and it's also showing all 12 records of the table. So let's go back to the design view, and to do this we just click on this down arrow and we select design view at the bottom, and it's going to come up with the design view. And now say we want to add some criteria to this query. So say we wanted to say I only want to see students who passed the midterm exam, so that means they had a grade of greater than 50. So if you come over here to the midterm column, and you'll notice on this grid there's this criteria field. If we just find where they intersect, and in this cell we type greater than equal to 50, so greater equal to 50, and now if we run this query you're going to see that only 9 people are showing now, and each one of those people passed their midterm. So the 3 people that aren't showing right now are the ones that failed their midterm. So go back to the design view and let's add another criteria. We're going to put it under the final, and we're going to say that one also is greater than equal to 50, and we'll run that. And now you see that instead of 9 people, now there's only 8 people showing, because the one person that isn't being shown compared to the last one had failed the final exam. So go back to the design view, and you'll notice this was an AND operation. Because these are beside each other in this grid, that means it's an AND operation. So the students that are shown on the results have to have passed their midterm and passed their final. Now if I took this greater or less than 50 and I put it on a different row and I move that down, what this is going to do is this query is going to say show me all the students who have greater than 50 on their midterm or greater than 50 on their final, which is a completely different result. And now it's showing us 11 of the 12 students, because each one of these people passed at least one or the other, and the one student that's not showing happened to fail both of the final and the midterm. So let's put that back to the way it was. That's a demonstration of how the OR operations work, is they're not on the same line. Something else you may have noticed is that the first name and last name were on separate columns in the results. So if we want to join those together and have a first name and last name, we can do that. To do that, you're going to type in something slightly different. You're going to basically put the fields in square brackets, and the AND operator, the ampersand, is going to join different fields together. So if I were to go first name and last name in this field here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the last name field because we don't need this one anymore, so we're just going to cut that out. And now we go back to the run, and you can see that our names are together, except it's a little bit weird because the names, there's no space between them. And also the field access has given it its own name, this expression 1. We can also rename that if we want. So let's go back to the design view, and you see how access automatically put in this expression 1 with a colon, which defines what the field name is. So let's just call this name. And also we want to put a blank space in between the first name and last name. So to do that, we put another ampersand and we just put a blank space with quotation. So we want to concatenate, basically that means to join together a space. So we'll put two quotation marks with a space in between and then another and. So you're really joining together 3 different fields here: the first name, a blank, and the last name. And we'll run that again. And now you see that we have the proper name, we have the name is the name of the field, and the names also have spaces between them. Okay, and say we wanted to only show students who passed both their midterm and final and lived in Ontario. So basically we want to take this Curious George guy over here that lives in Alberta and not show him on this result. So we'll go back to the design view, and under province what we can do is under the criteria we can say does not equal. And in access, to do that, you do a less than and then a greater sign symbol beside each other, and then we just put in quotations the letters AB because that stands for the Alberta. So what this query is saying right now is show me all the students who do not live in Alberta, have a midterm greater than equal to 50, and has a final greater than or equal to 50. So we'll run that query. And voila, now there's only 7 results in here, and the Curious George from Alberta is not on this list. Now we can also add criteria and also not show a column. So even though we have criteria on the midterm and final columns, we can hide those columns if we don't want them to be shown. So if you go back to the design view, you will see if you click over here on the midterm and final, there's this show column. So if we uncheck those, they're no longer going to show on the query results. And if we do one other thing, we can actually sort by one of these fields. So say we wanted to sort by the name, we can come to the sort row under the name column, and we say we want to sort ascending by the name. So if we run this query again, you'll see that those 2 fields aren't showing anymore. These are the students who did receive a passing grade on the final and midterm. It's just not showing the final and midterm marks, and it's also sorted the name alphabetically by the first name. So that concludes this demonstration on creating queries.